Well, something unique happened today, Michael Bryant, when
Uh-oh.
I was watching you at the Aidan Kearney hearing in Boston. I want to tell you what it is, but I'm going to let you wait for it until
Ooh.
after the open.
All right. I'm just getting my scarf off now because I'm still freezing my ass off. We'll also update you on Luigi Mangione. Pretty interesting. Death penalty off the table. You know what's that sound? That's a lot of 20-something women and some men, perhaps swooning, thinking. So you're saying there's a change?
Justice, where are you? Michel and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and down, I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
All right, partner. Quite the day up in the
the day.
Northland. Boston is a little iceberg these days, but
And
it got
quite
a little
the
hot in
show.
the court.
Yeah, quite the show. We have Mark Bederow on, who's waiting right in the wings, and we'll bring him on in a second. But I wanted to tell you what happened before we bring him on today. When
please
I
do.
was on, I rushed back from my appointment to get on the air to find all the hullabaloo, which you'll talk about. Boston, no Wi-Fi. You get appointed streaming. There's no hotspot. There's nothing. There's a Zoom, and people aren't allowed on it. Although I streamed. Broken Baker and all. But then I'm posting, okay, to all the people watching, which we had like 1,000 people really quickly getting on as soon as I was back, right? And I go to post something about Michael is there, and the judge said he would take this matter under advisement, which is what we used yesterday. We said he would do that.
Yep.
And he will find new counsel if he finds a conflict but he telegraphs what he is going to do and appoint maybe one other counsel, but keep the case going instead of getting rid of Cosgrove. Do you know I went to post that on YouTube, our YouTube, Justice Serve TV, and it says, YouTube says this is spam and wouldn't post it. And it was under the Justice Serve TV logo. So that was a new one for me.
Okay.
Brian.
So you've been found out. Okay. That's, I don't know. I got no words for that. I don't understand the bots. I don't get it. But without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Mark Bederow. Mark, I feel like I just saw you just a few minutes ago. How are you, sir?
How are you? Good to see you guys.
We appreciate you joining on this crazy day. And we won't keep you long. Just want to get kind of your gut feeling on what's been happening, and you know, this judge, first time in person. The first time he appeared in the case officially was the Zoom. This is a very different feel. You're in the courtroom. Just some gut reaction to what he had to say.
You know, he's a hot bench, as you saw, which you don't always see, I think, when you do oral arguments at a trial level, as opposed to in the appellate division or any kind of appellate court, wherever you are. He clearly was prepared. He, you know, has some questions to ask, so I don't read into that. And he's navigating through it. I think there are some issues that he wants to try to resolve. I don't think he wants to get rid of the prosecutor. No judge ever wants to do that, especially when the prosecutor is steering the ship by himself, because it would be an empty, stateless case like the last one, and you saw how that went. So, but as far as what will happen next, it's for the man who wears the robe to decide. You know, we lay it out. It's briefed. It's been argued, and he'll either rule in our favor or he won't, and onward and upward. I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the public doesn't understand that lawyers who do this, there's a war you're trying to win, and within that war there are battles and there are skirmishes, and you don't always necessarily get everything you want at every time. And people who follow this, whatever side they're on, would probably be wise not to just look at everything that happens, every motion, as a win, a loss. You know, you're doing great, you're screwed. There's a long game to these things, and this is part of it. And if the motion's granted, then that's great for us. If not, then, you know, we go back and keep fighting and go to the next one.
Right. Let me just ask you. You were in the. It was a pretty large courtroom. Sound wasn't too great, although there was a lot of things they have to get. I think that they have to get better in terms of dealing if they're going to go back to Suffolk, which I think your next hearing is back in Boston in Suffolk County.
It is.
But
the next one.
it is okay. The next
It'll
one
be tried in Dedham. If the case gets tried, I mean, we're getting a Dedham jury.
Okay. So now let's go to the next thing, which I thought was pretty important. He, right off the bat, though, ruled that Aidan Kearney is a journalist. He said he's a new kind of journalist, which is the same issue, the same thing that was said, in other cases. We all recognize that journalism is no longer Walter Cronkite back in the 1960s sitting at a desk. We are journalists here. We're covered by journalistic privilege, and there's cases on that here. But then at the very end, he said he understood that this is important First Amendment implications of this case, but he wanted the jury to decide whether this case really was a First Amendment case for Aidan Kearney. Now, I was a little confused by that. Explain that to me, but I just want to say to all of you keyboard warriors, Aidan Kearney has now been ruled a journalist by at least 3 judges that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can like it or not like it, but if you are reporting on matters of public concern and publish them in some format, you're a journalist, and he's certainly protected by all of that. And whether it's new media or ABC News, whatever, a journalist is a journalist is a journalist. And in this case, as the judge recognizes, ultimately, if the case is not dismissed, if the prosecutor is not tossed, then a jury would have to decide whether there was an intent to cause emotional harm, harass, or intimidate, whether anybody felt that. And those issues will have to be fleshed out. But that's a long ways off, and I don't read into that either. Judges have to plan a schedule. They can't assume rulings what they're going to make, and certainly that you have to keep in the back of your mind there could be a trial in this case. Now, if the case is dismissed and the prosecutor is tossed, then that'll be the end of it. If not, then there'll be a very interesting jury trial in front of a judge who appears to be very actively engaged and interested in the subject matter. That's a good thing.
And I think what I picked out from a number of the things he said, which in general, I thought he was going very far, working very hard to justify getting where he wanted to go. Which to me is anything he can do to keep Cosgrove on the case. Now, maybe it's because he thinks the case itself is weak, and even when if it goes to trial, there will never be a conviction. I don't know. I just get the feeling that for him, moving toward a trial is far more important than how he gets there. Just my thought. So with this guy, my impression is that with Cosgrove, that he, for some reason, wants to live and die with this case. And I asked you about it after the hearing today. What's driving this guy? If it were me, you suggested if it were you, Linda, I'm sure it'd be same with you. If we were in that role, we'd get the hell out. And so why is he in and staying in and fighting to be in?
I can't speak for him. That's an answer that only he can give. I don't know if it were me and this exit ramp was laid out with blinkers steering me to the exit ramp, I would be exiting as fast as I could. I just don't, in my view, understand why you would even want to embrace this. And I said this today and mean it with all sincerity. The conflict here, the personal interest, it's not a lawsuit per se, or the merits or strength of a lawsuit. An attorney has had his integrity attacked. That's just the reality. Whether you people think, free Turtleboy or rot in hell, whatever, a witness filed claims alleging misconduct against a prosecutor who could be in a position of examining the witness. Any lawyer in that position has a personal interest in discrediting that witness by defending their own integrity. And the real issue, it wasn't even so much the issues surrounding cross-examination, the evidence. It's the argument at the end of the trial. It's summing up on everybody's credibility when you have a personal interest. There are so many problems with that. Number one, it is tantamount to giving unsworn testimony. It's a free shot. You've had a free shot to examine her under oath. And, one thing at a trial is you never want a jury to be misled. There, and there are rules of evidence and things that there are certain things that a jury is not supposed to know, and not, that's fine. There are reasons for rules of evidence, but in any case, it doesn't relate to this case specifically. In any case where a witness is suing the prosecutor and the prosecutor has a personal interest in discrediting that witness and favoring other witnesses, including your co-defendant, over that witness or anyone else, to allow that lawyer to make those arguments in front of the jury without the jury being aware of that interest, to me, is tantamount to perpetrating a fraud on the jury. That's something they ought to be informed of. Now, the next point is, well, how can you inform them of that? You can't practically. The answer is you got to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I said to Michael as he was driving back, I said, can you imagine if a defense attorney tried this? We're held to a different standard as defense attorneys. And the judge would say, are you kidding me, Miss Kenny Baden? Are you kidding me? There'd be no doubt. And if we were in federal court, there'd be no doubt. Goodbye, so long, farewell. And in New Jersey, as you know, Mark, where you practice and where you have a license, any hint of conflict, if you say the word conflict, even if it's not an appearance, just say it, it comes up in your mind. Goodbye, so long, and farewell. You're gone.
Yeah, it is uncommon to see this level of litigation over a conflict at this stage. And admittedly, you never see a situation where a witness is suing the prosecutor, which is why, you hear the cases you're discussing are, from federal court in 1981, Louisiana in 1964, and Pennsylvania in 1977. This never happens. I mean, this is so bizarre and just the latest in a long line of conflicts, frankly, in this case, including one involving the same prosecutor. We've made the argument that, I don't think this is good for the public confidence in accepting the legitimacy of these proceedings, given the way it is. Having said that, the judge wears the robe, makes the decisions, and whatever he says, we'll deal with. I mean, that's just what you do as a lawyer. You go where they send you.
Yeah, and I think in those cases that you had to cite, and you mentioned, there's a Pennsylvania case, there's these other cases, it's because it's a common sense analysis that generally doesn't go that far. Doesn't go to appeal.
No, it doesn't. And, the cases that were thrown around today, too, which, obviously all sides were familiar with, there was a really big distinction. Every one of those cases were post-conviction raising conflicts. That's a whole nother analysis than pre-trial, where an appearance and that this looks terrible is a much bigger factor than in a post-conviction where you say, well, does any of this matter if they had evidence that led to a conviction? I mean, just analytically, it's a totally different scenario.
The one thing that I did think, though, that was interesting is Cosgrove at the end thinking that, well, I've dodged the bullet now because I'm still going to be here in March. Let me raise something else.
Keep coming.
Yeah. Let me raise something else. I have concerns. It almost sounded like Judge Beverly Canoni. I have concerns about whether
are they grave concerns?
There's a violation of a protective order. And the one thing I did like about the judge said, well, if you have that, bring it up with the defense. I don't need to deal with that right now. It sounded like Cosgrove thought he was going to get something in for public edification. Oh my God, there's some more concerns and maybe there's some violation. And the judge kind of said, nope, not dealing with that right now.
I found that very encouraging for a lot of reasons. Primarily, look, there's a lot of craziness and nonsense that goes on online. It's in the last several weeks, it's been worse than ever. I'm not sure if that's what he's referring to with part of that, but the reality is the case should be dealt with. It should be dealt with in the courtroom. There are these issues. We don't need to be discussing violations. And of course, if there are protective orders, they shouldn't be violated. They have to be respected. But now is not the time to get into, who saw what are the circumstances of that? Why is this online? That sort of thing. Hopefully, I think the judge was very clear that there's an important case in front of me that needs to be dealt with. There's many outstanding issues, and everybody, hopefully, at least from the lawyer's side, can just focus on that and get the case dealt with to a final conclusion, whatever that is, whether it's tossing the prosecutor, dismissing the indictment, or trying the case to verdict, whichever it is.
That's kind of Cosgrove's MO. It reminded me of the hearing, which was on one of Aidan's witness intimidation claims. And at the end, Cosgrove's like, oh, wait, by the way, here's a video of last night when he's in front of the pizza place with his friend, and they're doing the dinosaur arms, and they're talking to the pizza place, which has a camera. But Cosgrove throws that in at the last minute of a hearing that had nothing to do with that. They hadn't even been given notice that was going to be an issue raised against Aidan.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are different ways to do that. I won't comment on that. The judge wanted nothing to do with that at the time as well. There's actually two cameras at the pizza place. One of them
right.
Surreptitious audio, and the other one didn't. But that again is an argument that will be dealt with in due course with motion practice and wherever that leads to as well.
So I just want to say that seems to be a Cosgrove thing. Like, let me throw in this gotcha at the last minute here.
I like Cosgrove personally. I have nothing to say. Look, I think he has a conflict on this case through no fault of his own, and I hope I made that very clear today. I don't even have an opinion on the merits against him, but I just don't think we have a set of circumstances that on this case should allow him to continue. And to be very clear, the motion that's pending here does not include the 2025 case. No one's trying to kick him off that case because the issue is not present. That witness is not going to be a witness if that case were ever to see the light of day at the trial. So, we're trying to be focused and on what we're doing and what we're seeking. But I have nothing to say bad about Cosgrove. I just think he shouldn't be on this case through no fault of his own.
Let me just ask you one final question before we let you go. I think at the last hearing, and all of our viewers said, well, this is going to be adjourned with no decision today. And they were right. Okay. Cosgrove said, well, if you take me off this case, Judge, I'm just going to get off all the other cases, which led the court to believe, obviously, that there'd be a delay. Do you think that has anything to do with how the court's trying to, shall we say, create some kind of remedy here that he can let this case go forward and not get Cosgrove removed? Because who wants to take those shitty cases? And I'm going to say that right out with that word.
I don't want to speculate again what the judge is doing or what his decision will be. I don't know. I'm not privy to it. He just asked a lot of questions today. We give him the answers. Could have done it for another hour if he wanted to. I mean, there was a lot more to say, but there comes a point where you read the room and see what we're all doing, and you need to sit down. You don't want to get into this long-winded spiel. The issue's been briefed as well, so you have to know as a litigator, and obviously this, when to sit down, when to say something, and when to just shut up. But as far as would there be anyone else to take the case? Nobody took the last case. I don't know. That's an issue. Part of the problem that we have is who's even going to make that decision. I mean, this became an issue in the last case because the district attorney's office itself we believe, has a similar conflict. They've already and they have recused themselves. I know there was an issue about that today. They stepped aside from the Kearney cases. That's why they got a special prosecutor. But should they even be in a position to find a replacement? I don't know. Yeah. This case is one of one. It's crazy for so many different reasons.
So,
well, Mark, you were great today. We're going to let you go.
Yeah,
but I did want to say you were. I am so proud to have you as co-counsel in the Jersey case because you're just great. You're just great on your feet. I'm like an assassin in cross-examination, but you are just. You remind me of being at Harvard for that week. You are at that and above that level in how you argue. It
felt like an appellate argument, actually. More. Again, it felt more like being in the appellate division than just making a trial court argument. But listen, it's what we do. And judge asks questions, you need to have answers. Mm-hmm. So, as long as you're prepared, briefed, calm, poised, you do it. That's all.
I heard some people commenting, "Hey, Mark's got to calm down. He's gonna make the judge." No, you don't want to calm down when you're zealously representing your client and you have legitimate things to say. So I thought it was appropriate.
It's totally no. I have, yeah. I mean, look, I can imagine what the Twitter law school has to say about a number of things, and we'll have to make sure we're more diligent following Massachusetts procedure, obviously.
Oh.
But, that's one of the disadvantages from being out of town. But again, I'm sure the Twitter school of law love that as well.
Well, it all worked out, and we appreciate you being good to see you in person again today, and we appreciate you coming on. March 27th, there will either be a new prosecutor, or at least the search for one, or it will go forward, and that will be the motion to dismiss. That's the either or for the 27th of March, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And that even doesn't make it the decision about if he goes forward and he doesn't dismiss whether or not there's going to be one person brought into question, one witness, if they find a conflict.
Yeah,
so that's all that's going.
That's the splitting the baby that I think he's leaning toward. Yeah.
But anyhow, as we told you, Mark would be opening the show. Aidan, your client, will be closing the show at 7:00. So everyone has to stay tuned.
Okay.
I know you should go get some dinner, Mark.
Mark has a steak waiting for him.
I have a steak waiting for me. So yeah, I'll check out.
Okay, bud. Thanks again. Appreciate
Thanks, Guy.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, so we got the bookended show here. We got Mark at the top. We have Aidan at the end.
Yeah, I think we announced initially that Aidan was going to and Mark will both be on together, but as things happen, and Mark opened the show, and Aidan will close our show tonight. So you have to stay tuned. But before we get to the next thing, we have so many things to acknowledge here, Michael. Let me just see this. We have, and again, I have to lean, and I apologize, Tawa NZ, is that, am I pronouncing it right? I hate when I mispronounce names. Look at us, gifted One Justice Serve TV membership. Thank you very much. You have to be a subscriber to get that, so subscribe, like, share, and notify, and also hype. We've learned about hype, but the person has already gotten this subscription. We have nothing to do with it. They get given out to a subscriber or somebody, who's subscribed, and they'll get a membership. That's what's going to happen here, and then they'll get to join all the membership things that we do separate and apart. So please subscribe, and the person who's already got it, you have Tawa New Zealand to thank. I believe that's what that is.
I see a few new members here.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, let's do them real. So before Linda M 9600 member for 3 months. Thank you, Linda Michael, for the great coverage and guests. Hit the like button, the chat button, subscribe to receive notification. Thank you very much. I think I want to have you on to do what I do, because I always forget, and you just did this so much
really
better.
Forget.
Thank you very much. The other Linda, I should say. And we have a new member. We have Conzilla 3997.
Thank you, Conzilla.
Thank you, Conzilla. Another new member, Ms. Nancy, member for 10 months. Thank you, Ms. Nancy. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying all the different membership things we're doing with the book clubs and all, and the findings, trying to solve crimes and all of that. And then we have another new member here today.
Disappeared. Where'd she go?
Disappeared. Sorry about that. Joanne, and I can't read it, Michael.
I'm going to say it's Joan Nedanine.
I want to say Joanne.
Or is it Joan Deneen? Okay.
Joan Deneen, 519, new member. Thank you again very much. And Ellen S. 011, new member. Thank you all very much for becoming memberships. And yes, and we, even as we're doing this, we're gaining new members. Saint
Amba.
Saint Amba, new member. Thank you very much. Okay, nice. So now we're gonna, as we wait for Aidan Kearney to come on in, about 7:00, who will close the end of the show and give us his comments about today. We have some rip and reads, don't we?
Oh, you want to do that now? Is that the plan? We can do that now. It's up to you, because we're going to transition obviously back into this hearing and talk about some of the stuff I experienced there and other stuff we have to share.
Let's do some rip and reads, and then we'll go back into the hearing.
Let me do this before we get the rip and reads. I just noticed, I had to upload our goodies after I returned here because no Wi-Fi at the courthouse, and it was 7 gigabytes for the whole hearing. The hearing's an hour and 16 minutes.
Why don't you tell people exactly what happened first?
Sure. Okay.
Because I don't think they know the whole story about why we were streaming Broken Baker.
I got up at 6:00. Oh no, I don't need to go back that far. I get to the courthouse. Of course, it's freezing. It's actually 7 degrees, but with the wind chill, it's like -20. So I'm doing the Freedom Trail, walking, looking for the courthouse. and they were great. 8:30, boom, they opened the doors. They let everybody upstairs to the 8th floor, and then there's an ante room there. And then we were just kind of hanging out. Some very lovely folks that I had a chance to talk with who watch us and said, "Linda's great. We're not sure about you." And then we're waiting. Then we're going like, I talked to the bailiffs and I got on the list, and they knew we were doing the streaming theoretically. And they go at 9:15, we'll let you in. Well, 9:15 comes and goes, and then 9:30. Well, it turns out Mr. Bredel seemed to have some traffic issues, and so that delayed the whole process. And so as soon as we got in, and they packed the place, there was standing room only, and they don't allow standing room. So there were probably about 50 people in there, give or take. And it's not as big as the well of the court is, and that area. The gallery, not so big, like 3 rows on each side, not really very big at all. So sitting there, and I see the Channel 7 camera is there, and they confirmed to me that they recorded it. They did not stream it, unfortunately. But I will say,
don't I know that? When I was looking for them.
In the past, the local affiliates have shied away from this case because they think it's got a little too salacious. They totally have ignored the First Amendment issue that's kind of important, and they've just, they just haven't cared. So 5 was there a little later, but 7 was there and set up in the courtroom. I go in, and then Tim, who does still photography, he's there. And I talked to the bailiff like, "Whoa, dude, we already talked this over. I'm supposed to be over there." And I know it's happening because they've waited so long. Tim Bredel's there. Now they're queuing the judge, basically. And so I kind of just forced my way in there. I said, "Make sure you know." And so I went over to the jury box, and I kind of, Amanda and Josie with Law Girls Not Attorneys Due Process. We've been working it out in the past, but there just really wasn't time, and I just kind of bowled my way in there just to make sure somebody was rolling on it, and I did. And I apologize, it didn't work out the way we had originally planned. So I get over there, but there's no time for a tripod because the judge is coming in at the same time. So I just start rolling, and I'm holding the camera, just freehanding it. So when you see the replay, which is in its entirety, hour and 16-ish, it's got its moments of what I call cinema verite. We're might be a little wobbly, but Bederow's right in front of me. Aidan is there. Tim Bredel's there. And so I think the audio should be clean, and it's certainly it's a better perspective than that ugly Zoom that we were forced to deal with earlier today. But we did what we could.
Remember, we had been authorized to do the streaming. We have a journalism permit. We have a credential. So there was no problem with us doing it. But a lot of people wouldn't get on the Zoom, which wasn't even advertised, till the last moment because they weren't credentialed. So Brogan Baker, he's in a different country. I don't think he cares. So what I did is, because I had come back from my appointment, I pulled him in. I thank him for letting us use it. So at least we could see what was happening at that time, knowing that you were rolling, and then we'd be able to play the whole thing, and will be put up on Justice Serve TV later. We will post a link for it, and you can watch.
It is out. It just now came up. In fact, some folks have already looked at it. Don't go anywhere yet. It'll be up there. But I think it's a much better perspective than the Zoom. Get to see the gallery a little bit, which is nice, and all of the supporters. Anyway, that was that deal, and that's why it unfolded as clunkily as it did. Didn't have a chance to put my mic up there, any of that stuff. But anyway, that's how that unfolded. Then we did the presser just outside, which has also been up for a little bit. We may rerun some of that, maybe not.
I think we are. But I do want to bring the show down to something. Things happen in life that have nothing to do with crime and law and justice. Although, as far as I'm concerned, it's an injustice. Rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara. I do want to. I told you I was going to bring it up. If Mark was holding a wine glass, I'd say Merlot, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, and you all know what that's from. That's from Best in Show. She's been in so many characters. One of the great actresses, one of the most incredible actresses, and all. And
just a very special comedic actress. I used to watch her during SCTV days.
Which just fabulous
sketch comedy show.
71 years old, just a short, unexpected illness. She's just a baby, and we just wanted to mention her. And when I go to the Westminster Monday morning, which I will be doing at 7:30, to be there at 9 o'clock, because one of our members, one of the people that the watches it all the time, Caliburn Show Dogs, is going to be there showing her Tibetan Spaniel, and I promised I would go, and I will be there Monday morning, no matter how close it is. I will be there to watch her, and it'll remind me of Catherine O'Hara, because it'll be Westminster Kennel Show. So I know that's kind of Catherine O'Hara. It's kind of a downer. So that to bring us back up, I thought that I would play the 5-year plus 1 day anniversary.
Oh my gosh!
Of this. Okay, if I can get this rolling. Now let's see. I brought it in. All right, and this is where my skills aren't as good as your skills, Michael Bryant.
Well, neither were the skills of the attorney in question here.
Wow, you all know what I'm talking about. Now I don't know why it won't play, because it's brought in. It's properly brought in. I
saw you hover over the start box. The
right,
start button.
Right.
But now you have not hovered over it. Hover over it again.
Okay, I'm hovering. Nope,
I don't see it. I don't see your cursor. It's got to be right down there.
Yeah, it was right down there when I carried this in, and but you know what it is. I mean, I think I've tried to give it a shot. Maybe I'll remove it from the stage and bring it back in, and all. But it's the cat video. You all know what I'm talking about, right? You all know what I'm talking about. Let me remove it. Let me bring him back in. Let's see if I can bring. I have it here on my computer, but that doesn't. And it says it's being shared. So right now, I am going to. Stop the share, and I'm going to actually bring it back in again. Let's see if we can do it again this time. Share the screen. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the cat video. I'm going to hit share, and here we go. I think. Now,
I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to this.
All right then.
I'm going to share.
I have not always
if I can stop the share, because you get the idea. You all remember that 5 years and 1 day ago when we were in the pandemic and COVID, that was one of the things that brought us all together and made us all laugh, that cat video. So that's kind of a segue after giving some rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara from Best in Show. Now, I know we have some real rip and read before we get into our actual show dealing with what happened today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it justifies this, but I'm doing it. So I mentioned, I teased the Luigi Mangione case from today. We need to get into it in some greater detail at some point, but the bottom line is the death penalty is off the table. The reason is, and this was the federal case, the reason is because they were using stalking as the predicate felony to justify the death penalty. To do so, that predicate felony has to be a violent felony. And the judge decided today that stalking in and of itself is not a violent felony, therefore it cannot be the predicate for the death penalty. Now, some might say that maybe this judge's predilection is against the death penalty, because we know the murder charge in the state case is still intact and it would still lead to the biggest penalty, but that's not the death penalty because it's New York State. So now either case, fed or state, maximum penalty is going to be life without the possibility of parole. So.
And the feds are going to go first. I mean, the state tried to get in there.
Well, it's so funny. Right? Who knows what's going to happen, because either side could appeal this decision today. So either side. And if that happens, the feds are going to be pushed way down the road, and the state may say, Judge, we're ready to go. They put in a request to do July 7th, I think, which nobody thinks is realistic. And you have currently the feds in September into October to start. But they could get pushed, and the state could say, hey, we're cutting in. We're ready to go. Yeah, we just don't know. We don't know at this point.
Yeah. So. But that is a big win if it holds up for the defense team, which that has done quite a job.
And the prosecution got something as well. Remember, part of the battle over the evidence was everything seized from his backpack at the McDonald's was going to be thrown out. It was challenged because of custodial, non-Miranda, both statements made and things gathered in a search. Well, that's all that's in. The gun's in, the manifesto's in, everything that was in the backpack was in. So it's as if the judge said, okay, here, prosecution, you've got more ammo now, so to speak. But defense, your guy's not going to get the death penalty. So that's it. You can prove your case more easily now with all that stuff in, but the penalty is lesser.
Yeah. And there's, there's, as I told you, there's a big jury pool out there that believes, and I've heard people say it myself, that this was they would not give him the death penalty. They won't even convict him because they think this was justified.
Like the woman I interviewed.
Like the woman you interviewed. So it's an interesting case. Although when you were hyping it before the show started, I thought you were talking about the new Wuthering Heights that's coming out February 14th, because apparently that sounded like the same thing. I thought you were hyping that movie.
No, I'm just suggesting there's a lot of people in this young demographic that are in support of this guy, suggesting, hey, maybe he killed somebody, maybe he didn't. I'm not really worrying about whether he did or didn't. If he did, it was justified. And so, they can say there's not a physical attraction component. I think that's a lie. I think they think some of these young folks think he's good looking dude and had a cause worth killing for. So there you go.
But I've heard people that are middle-aged, older age, who feel that they've been screwed by insurance companies, and then it's about the time someone did something. I've heard that being said, and that's obviously the defense attorneys heard that. So remember, when you're trying a case, if you're a defense attorney, you only need one to hang the jury, and maybe it's easier to convict if there is no death penalty. That's also a situation.
That's
so maybe
possible.
the prosecution is better off if they don't have the death penalty on the table.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more likely that they could get a conviction. Sometimes, as we just said with Mark, you got to be careful what you ask for, because you may get it. All right. Now,
and people may remember, if they go back to the Rodney King days, he was acquitted on state charges. The cops were acquitted on state charges, all the same I think it was 4 cops, but they then tried the case federally under civil rights. And the civil rights argument is just, what have you been deprived of? Oh, I don't know, your life. And so that's the basis for the civil rights complaint, and they won and got convictions in the federal court. So that was a case where state went first and lost, feds went second and won.
Yeah, so you never know what a jury's going to do. And speaking about jurors again, but let's welcome new members. Mag in Florida, pro-Constitution.
Well, there you go. I'm pro-Constitution.
Thank you. We're all pro-Constitution here at Justice Serve TV. Thank you very much for being. And then we have another generous person. Really, I see you gifted 5 Justice Serve TV memberships. They've already been given out, and we really appreciate those, because for a lot of people, $2.99 a month is expensive, and for other people, they say, well, let's try it out, and they become members. And we're trying to grow our membership, because there's a lot of things we want to do. And of course, that takes money. Even going up to Massachusetts today takes money. We have another.
Go ahead. You have another one? Go ahead.
Crumbs. Yeah, $5.97. Just gifted another 5 Justice Serve TV memberships. So thank you. You're also generous tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, just to give you a clue, I'm not begging for money. I'm just saying, you go to the big city, which is why Boston so annoyed me not having Wi-Fi. I mean, it was 1983. I was giving the bailiffs a hard time. They're like, I know. Right across the street from that courthouse, Verizon corporate headquarters. So if you punch up Wi-Fi on your phone and it shows you what's available, there's like 6 very strong Wi-Fi signals for Verizon that you can't get into because they're all password protected. But we're going to work on that. I really thought in this day and age we'd never have to deal with it, but you can make arrangements or get a little piece of equipment that will allow you to kind of carry a Wi-Fi signal with you.
That's what we did.
Because data on your phone is never going to be fast enough. It's got to be fast.
Yeah, that's what we did at Hernandez, but we did that because we didn't want anyone getting into our local Wi-Fi. So the defense team, we had our own little Wi-Fi.
And I think they've gotten more sophisticated now. That was a few years ago.
Right.
I think it's more sophisticated now, and it could be as simple as getting the password for some of those already existing Verizon Wi-Fi signals. So anyway, should we have to go back up there? I know Mark, I should have followed up. Mark suggested we're back up there March 27th.
Yes,
the judge, when he kicked us out, when he finished, made it sound like, I don't know yet. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know.
Well, he didn't know where he was going to be in the building. He's at Suffolk. He didn't know where he's going to be in the building. I think we were.
Well, that's just what's so weird, because he is a Plymouth County judge. Plymouth County.
Right.
They put him in Suffolk County for whatever purposes they did for today's hearing. I can't. And of course, the whole thing is venued in Dedham. So.
But that's the way Massachusetts does. They rotate. So
they're wacky. That's a little wacky.
No, it's
I mean, especially. I mean, I could see Plymouth Essex, Norfolk, because they're all kind of similarly situated. But to throw you into Suffolk, the big city, I think so. What I was getting at was, you go to Park just for a couple hours, it's $40. That's just
the way it is.
life
And
in a
that's
big city.
that's why we always ask for money. Anyhow,
We don't really always ask for money,
but we don't really always say,
No.
but our mods do. They put in the donation thing.
Well, we appreciate all of that help.
And we really appreciate everything.
Well, I'm trying to remember one of our viewers that wanted me to give you a shout out to Mr. Monk. Is that right? Does that sound familiar? Mr.
Yeah,
Monk?
sort of. You're close.
Right.
I know who
Was
it
I
is.
close?
I'll send them a message.
Well, Mr. Monk is a she.
I thought it was a he.
No, it's a
Mr.
she.
Monk.
She. Very
Oh, well,
unpleasant
I'm thinking
person. No, I'm just
then
kidding. She's
No, it's very. Then I'm thinking of the wrong person.
yeah.
Oh
This
my
is.
goodness
I think it's
gracious.
Mr. Monk. There may be more to it, but she's
Okay.
lovely. We chatted as I was leaving. She said, "Make sure to tell you hello." And
Well,
I
thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so Mr. Monk's understudy. Yes, Mr.
See?
Monk's
There you go.
understudy. That's why it's a she. But there's also a Mr. Monk. There's also something with Monk in it that also follows me. Very
I did
interesting.
not know that.
I did post the link to and I'll do it again, the link to the Mangione opinion, because we will have more on that. But this is the actual opinion right here. If you go to it, so you can read it in advance of us doing a show on that. That may be Monday. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Kind of winding down from this week, which has been kind of kooky. Let's do this. This is the 8-minute post interview.
Okay.
And I apologize if you may hear a question or two that was similar to what we just chatted about, but I couldn't assume people had already seen this. And they were such important questions, I thought, about where the judge was going. But we also hear from Bederow, and we hear from Aidan. So let's do this. Let me know if you can hear this and make sure I got the right.
And Aidan will be coming on at the other.
Well, go ahead, Aidan. What do you got? Any questions, guys?
Reaction to what you just went through there, guys.
Wait for the court to decide. We think it's a very strong application. We think there's a strong motion to dismiss also waiting in the wings if this one doesn't go our way. So we're pleased with today. We have a judge who's obviously very informed, very prepared, and we're confident in what the outcome will be, whether it's on this motion, the next one, or the final result.
It seemed like the judge was leaning toward just, keeping Cosgrove on the case, but having someone else handle the Lindsay situation, I guess. Is that something you would be open to? It sounds like maybe not.
We think there's a conflict that requires removal, but the judge wears the robe and decides. So what he decides will be.
Did you get a sense of where he was leaning? It seemed like he was taking a, sort of active approach, poking holes, not just in your argument, but in the Commonwealth's as well.
He was a hot bench. That happens from time to time. That's what lawyers deal with, and you deal with it. So I don't read into it one way or the other.
You seem to give some credit to a strong motion to dismiss, which of course we now at least have a date for. Thoughts on that?
It is a strong motion to dismiss, but first things first. We have to see if there's a prosecutor to even defend the motion to dismiss. If there is, then we'll come right back here at the end of March and argue why all the indictments should be dismissed. Absolutely. I think he's right.
It used to be just the appearance of impropriety was enough to have somebody step aside. Would you step aside if you were in his role?
If I were sued by a witness in a case I was prosecuting back when I was a prosecutor, I personally would take the exit ramp and get out of there. Yes.
So why is he fighting so hard to stay on this case?
That's for him to answer. I don't want to speculate. We have great personal respect for Mr. Cosgrove. It has nothing to do with the position that he's in because of a witness's accusations towards him, but I would not even pretend to try to read his mind as to why he's doing what he's doing. That's a question only he can answer.
Do you think they would struggle to find someone else to join this case? Obviously, they couldn't find someone to prosecute the 24 case that they null-prossed.
Would you do it?
I'm not a lawyer.
If you were a lawyer, that's their problem. That's a them problem, not an us problem.
How do you like his response, Cosgrove's response, when comparing the case you conflicted out of with these cases? How is that different?
To us, it's a distinction without a difference. I think we made that point very clear in the written submissions and the oral argument today. He disagrees, as is his right. That's how litigation works. But for us, if you're being sued by a witness, you shouldn't be examining the witness and summing up on their credibility when that witness has testimony that could impeach other important witnesses. It's just, we don't think it's appropriate, but we don't decide either.
What's the case in Middlesex we keep hearing about?
I'm not sure.
There's probably one there too.
Yeah, that was Will being a smartass. What a surprise.
Will, are we still in the chat, Will?
People will, probably remember.
Will
if-
and Scott are here, and I think they're still in the chat.
If they had heard, I know Scott stayed outside and I didn't get a chance to say hi. Sorry, Scott, because
But he's in our chat tonight. He's in our chat tonight. Yeah.
When I went outside, I was over the cold. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. And so during the course of Cosgrove's very eloquent argument, he kept talking about this Middlesex County case. Middlesex, well, it's a Worcester case, and he just, even when corrected by the judge, went back to Middlesex. And so Will was giving these guys a chance to take a little laugh at Cosgrove's expense.
Anybody else?
He did mention that, you're close to, it seems, settling that civil case that you filed, Aidan. How does that impact what's going on here with the conflict and all that?
I don't think it impacts it at all because it's not almost settled with him, and he's the issue here.
The court seemed to go into some great detail about the timing of certain events, and Cosgrove came to this late after all. The fact is, Cosgrove is the one being sued by a potential a witness, perhaps to be cross-examined or directly examined by him. What do you think about the court's distinction they were drawing there and the timing of all these things?
I don't know that the timing per se matters. Our issue is that for one reason or another, the prosecutor, the only prosecutor on the case, we believe has a personal interest in discrediting witnesses or a witness who has sued him and defending the credibility of witnesses whose credibility will be attacked by the civil plaintiff. Whether that happened now, before, his personal interest is to restore his integrity, his reputation. Anyone who is sued and accused of things has an interest in discrediting that. How do you do that when acting as a prosecutor? We just don't think that is appropriate. There's an appearance of a conflict, and we do think it does matter that you cannot look at this in a vacuum. This case is filled with conflicts that long precede Mr. Cosgrove. The state police are involved in a conflict who should have recused themselves. The DA is not involved in this. The former special prosecutor, Ken Mello, was booted off the case for having conflicts with Ms. Gaetani. By the way, Mr. Cosgrove already had another conflict with Ms. Gaetani. I don't think you can look at this in a vacuum. The public confidence matters in a criminal proceeding, and it's flagging right now here.
And she's not a potential witness. According to Brian Tully's 911 call on Christmas Eve 2023, he called her a witness, not a potential witness, 4 times. So she was a witness until she wasn't.
And in his affidavit, he swore in his search warrant affidavit that she was a potential witness. Not even a potential witness, she was a witness. So, there's no question she's involved in the case. It creates a appearance of impropriety. It creates an appearance of a conflict. We think that's all we need. So, and while we're here, guys, Judge Bellizo said something very interesting that I want every member of the media to think about, okay? He said that he thought this case should be resolved by a jury, as the conscience of the community, if you will, to decide whether this is a First Amendment issue or not. Now, we think that a journalist, I think there's a few journalists here, shouldn't have to go through paying lawyers, risking their future in front of a jury. We think in this Commonwealth that judges should be a bulwark against this stuff. Judges should decide as a preliminary matter, should a journalist, should anyone speaking out, especially against the government, have to go through this to get to a jury trial, to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, to spend all of this court time, years of court time, to decide if something is protected by the First Amendment. Judges in this state need to step up and stop these kinds of prosecutions. This is the most self-interested prosecution, and it's clearly viewpoint discrimination. They didn't like what Aidan was saying, so they went after him. Who else have they ever gone after in this regard? No one ever. So they're turning this statute on its head to go to suppress Aidan's viewpoint. That is wrong. We've always contended the judges in the state should take care of that. He should not have to risk the whims of a jury, the vagaries of the jury system to vindicate the First Amendment.
One thing the court did seem confident in is getting this to trial as quickly as possible. What do you take from that?
If we have to do it, we have to do it. I'm not afraid of a trial. The facts would come out, but we believe it shouldn't come to that because, like my attorney said here, time, money, still being on bail, these are things that no one should have to live with for doing acts of journalism.
Great answer, Aidan. Great. I was going to stop that right there.
Yes.
Great answer, Aidan. Great answer. And let me just say, we had a discussion like this today when we were covering this before we even saw this, because I said the Don Lemon case came up where he was just videoing the people who were protesting at a church, and he's arrested for that. Okay. If you, Michael O'Brien, you go out and you start putting, as you did, for instance, Justin Alien, as you call him, right? A microphone in front of somebody, is everyone going to say you're intimidating? You're a journalist. You're a journalist when you do that. You're a journalist, especially people don't like you when you go after the government. They hate that. Aidan Kearney has brought down the government. He's brought down the state police. He's brought down Proctor. He's gotten Karen Reed not guilty. They hate that. He is a target. And if he can become a target because of what he does, you can become a target. I can become a target. And anyone here who engages in journalism can become a target. And that's not right. This is a judge question, and the judge should have the cojones, the sneakers, or today, the balls to cut
there you go.
off now.
I said the balls last night, and you were chagrined.
I
mean,
I
don't want.
By the way, I didn't lose an earring. It's right here, just that I have my earpiece on.
I don't want a jury telling me what I can and can't do under the First Amendment. That just seems twisted to me. That just seems very bizarre. So I think one of the things. What I think is unusual about this case that leads to all of these discussions is the backstory. It's just it can be so salacious. It is not, it's not Edward R. Murrow type stuff. And so people get a little more emotional about it. And
do people even know who that is anymore?
I guess. I mean, I'm not quite as old as, he's dead now. But if you study journalism and you know who he is, you mentioned Walter Cronkite earlier. Edward R. Murrow was like, an old man to him. You should understand the freedom of the press issue and not get bogged down by all these emotional backstories. It's still a First Amendment case. It's still about freedom of the press, even though it's dressed up a little differently than we've seen in the past. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Judge wants to move the docket, though. Every judge wants to move things along. We're doing our best we can. We're not going to go to trial on this thing until every bit of discovery is in our possession, and there's still a ways to go. That's another battle we have to fight coming up. We're most interested, however, in the motion to dismiss. We want to get that going. So. Josie, anything?
No, actually, thank you.
All right. Anybody? Right. Everybody taken care of? We don't want to leave anybody hanging.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All righty then.
Before you go to the next one, let's thank Azeron Fish for the donation. What's the remedy if the judge decides that the Commonwealth needs to find another attorney to cross Lindsay Gaetani, and the Commonwealth can't find one willing? Court-appointed attorney barred from cross cases. It's a very interesting question, because if no one will take it on, could the judge just appoint somebody off a list like they appoint you to represent a child in a guardianship case or a pro bono?
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Or in any case where the defense is conflicted out, a public defender could be conflicted out, and they go, well, here's our list. Here's our list of contract attorneys. That's a possibility.
Yeah, they'll call somebody and say,
very limited purpose, which is a mess. I think it's a horrible compromise.
It's ridiculous.
Like I said,
to have somebody with a conflict sitting right there, it'd be like in a law firm, having someone with a conflict, or having a judge, right? Okay, so you have a judge who has a conflict of interest, and you bring in another judge who sit right on the bench with him, and to make one little ruling while the judge that you've got to work with all the time is sitting right there. I mean, it's
ridiculous, because it causes the jury to say, what the hell's going on here? And you can't really tell them, because then you've revealed what you've been trying to hide, which is the conflict.
The conflict, right.
So, hey, why not just wipe your hands of it? I just don't understand. I mean, because does Cosgrove need the check that badly that he's clinging to this case like it's a retirement check? I just don't understand why any attorney under these circumstances wouldn't just say,
I'm out of here.
You're right. The appearance, I don't care if I did nothing wrong. The appearance of impropriety is facial. It's right in your face. and I can't get around that. But
Yeah.
for some reason, this guy doesn't want to do that. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, so we've got what time is it now? We have Aidan's coming up here in a few minutes. Is that the plan?
Yeah, he has something with his daughter from 6 to 7, so he may be the 7:10. Around.
Okay, so we have a couple of choices. We have any more questions and stuff we want to hit before we? Because we can look at some of the video. I think it's up now.
Yeah, let's look at some of the video.
You look for some questions and stuff while I'm trying to dredge up this video.
Okay.
Because it just barely loaded up.
Well, by the way, before we do that, also, Michael Bryant and I started this while he's looking for that. We started the show and we were going to do 7 minutes a week. Remember that, Michael? Well, just 7 minutes a week. It won't be any work, right? Oh, the good old days. That's Tubi's reminding us. One of our very first episodes, and it's way back in the library, is something on Marilyn Manson, who was accused of sexual assault, and then the case got dismissed. Well, this week, while you're looking for the where we're going to start the hearing today, the plaintiff, who was Ashley Waters, the case against Marilyn Manson has been revived under a new California law decision. Okay, so considering the fact that that's the case we started on, it's been revived, we may be covering it. Apparently, it has something to do with recovered memory, which is really an issue that people talk about being a junk science. But apparently, it has been revived. Okay.
So. Yeah, Marilyn Manson. And now we've grown to, what have we grown to? The best kept secret in true crime. That's where we are now. Okay, so this is... you'll see that it's a little different than the Zoom.
Whoa, what a good picture.
And I can't, people know what cinema verite is. If they don't know that, remember the movie that kind of changed things about the Blair Witch Project? Remember that?
Yeah,
in the
woods,
crazy. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of jittery moments in here, but still, I think it's worth taking a look at a little of this.
Mr. Riddle. And for Mr. Kearney, Mark Bederow. Good morning, Mr. Bederow. Okay, just to be clear, we've accommodated as many people as we can in the audience. I understand there are some folks outside. The court has opened the matter to Zoom, primarily because of the weather and the parking conditions. I'm not going to say that we're going to have it on Zoom every single time, but to those who can't be in the courtroom right now, we are broadcasting by Zoom. Further note, the court was prepared to come out at 9, but the delay was due to the late arrival of some of the counsel. So.
Oh, he didn't name Bradle. Look at there's a nameplate. That is not him. He is not Mark Halal. Okay, just he's borrowing this guy's bench, literally.
With that, I would remind all parties who are attending by Zoom that any rebroadcast, if you are not qualified under SJC Rule 1119, rebroadcast is prohibited. Those who are qualified and have registered are certainly free to rebroadcast as appropriate. So, with that.
Or what? I still think, I want to be on the record here, I think that is unconstitutional as well. To say,
tell us, because some people can't hear the judge what he just said.
Yeah, I know. I apologize. Didn't have a chance to put my microphone anywhere. Basically, he's saying that under the rules, the local rules, unless you have a credential under 119, you can't even restream this as we are now. And I just think that's a violation of First Amendment as well. This is a public proceeding.
Right.
We captured it. We're replaying it. Anybody should be able to. And to be honest, I don't care if anybody does or not. I don't know what I don't have any control over that. It doesn't matter to me. We're fine even under his rules. But I think it's a violation of our First Amendment rights or anybody else's if they aren't allowed to restream it.
U17 in part, 125 and 127. Those are the matters which deal with the request for the recusal or removal of Mr. Cosgrove as counsel for the Commonwealth. Now, before we begin that, particularly Mr. Bederow, just to you, I know Judge Sewell may have talked to you about this a little bit. Going forward, we don't file affidavits as motions. Rule 13 requires a motion to be a motion, to be supported by a memorandum.
Okay, if you can't hear that, I'm going to move on from this. This is the judge scolding Mark Bederow because he filed an affidavit as opposed to a more formal motion. And in that affidavit, he hits a number of points that might normally be part of a motion, but he did it in a way not normal for Massachusetts. And so Tim Bradel had to say, well, that's kind of my fault. I'm local counsel. But let's see if we get to Mark's argument here where we can hear a little better.
States that a recent conflict of interest has developed, which ethically precludes him from continuing to prosecute matters in which Lindsay Gaetani is an alleged victim or party. Those are the words of Mr. Cosgrove on September 24th, 2025, regarding his request to be removed from another indictment in which Lindsay Gaetani was a witness, and we'll get to in this argument why she may very well be a witness in this case.
Witness is different from victim, correct?
I'm sorry?
Witness is different from victim, right?
Of course, but as we'll get to, Your Honor, if a prosecutor or anyone has a personal interest that may differ from the Commonwealth's or to a defendant's right to a fair trial, that's something that has to be factored in. The point of that comment, Your Honor, is that Mr. Cosgrove acknowledged that there was a conflict arising out of Ms. Gaetani's claims against him. She has accused him of unprofessional and unethical conduct and has sued him. He draws the line.
I note that the last docket entry in that case was it was in the process of being settled. That's paper number 15 in that case. That was filed just last week.
Judge, whether the civil case continues or not isn't even necessarily the issue.
Explain why that would not be a problem.
Because she has accused him, a lawyer, a former judge, of unethical behavior, and he has a personal interest, understandably so, in defending himself against that. And in any matter in which her credibility becomes an issue that she testifies in a trial, he has an interest in discrediting her, which may be very different from the Commonwealth's interest, which I'll get into as to why that may be. But the point is, calling her an alleged victim and that there is a conflict because of her allegations against me, merely being a witness in a case in which she may testify, as the difference which somehow makes his personal interest acting both as a criminal prosecutor while serving as a civil defendant and potentially cross-examining your civil accuser and your lead detective is a civil co-defendant who has also been accused of misconduct, undermines the public confidence in the proceedings and demonstrates that a prosecutor could have a personal interest. The bottom line, Your Honor, the difference between witness and alleged victim is a distinction without a difference if the prosecutor has a personal interest which could significantly impact his representation of a party in the case. That's the Rule 1.7 issue.
Now, before he moves on, I mean, to me, it's that simple. That's it.
Right.
It's
That's
that
the rule,
simple.
right.
I don't care whether you call her a victim, you call her a witness. It was a victim. He's saying in the case in which Cosgrove voluntarily removed himself, now she's a witness. So what? Your interest is adverse to that person, and now you're going to be relying on that person or concentrating on that person as a witness in a different case. And I mean, you're at odds. It's just so common sense. It drives me crazy to see the court go leaping out of in so many hoops to get where I think he wants to go. And I know Mr. Bederow and Mr. Bradel, they can't really say that. I get it. But the fact is, this judge has an agenda. He wants whatever it is he wants. If it is to keep Cosgrove on the case so it goes to trial, to whatever end, great. But it's just wrong.
Well,
it's wrong.
And now that you've said that wrong, we have the person ready to come on the air.
Yes, so let me do that. Let me push this over here and push this over here. Here is the man of the hour. Well, he's in the dark. He's in the witness protection.
He's in the dark.
Where did he go?
He was walking.
There he is. There he is.
I love it. The turtle dove. The turtle dove.
What's going on?
No drama.
How are you?
Dove. Okay.
Is this a bus stop live? What is this?
This is a soccer game live. We just had a soccer game.
How'd it go?
We won 6-2.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Okay, great. Congratulations to your family.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That is some hardy kids out there, man, because it is brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's indoors. It's not outdoor soccer.
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
just getting to and from the gym, I guess, is the hard part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Aidan, we just we talked about the fact that the judge did identify you as a journalist today. We talked about how great your statement was at the end of the press conference when you and Tim Bradel spoke, and what a marvelous performance today. And I don't mean performance in terms of Academy Awards. I mean just stating your position, and that the Commonwealth has to try to jump through hoops to try to get at you, and wants to make a jury decide, even though they found you're a journalist, whether you're a journalist. So that's something we don't understand. So anything you want to talk about that we haven't covered? Because we've been through the whole hour of covering this hearing and asking why Mr. Cosgrove wants to stay on the case when he may have to cross-examine a witness who says he's unethical.
Well, like Mark Bederow said, only he knows his own reasons for doing that. Some may suggest the triple dip, like it was just too much to resist. Money. That could be one thing, or it could be. I mean, it's just you never know who's giving him his marching orders. You know what I mean? Like, is there Morrissey's recused from this case, but of course he's not really. It's like his state police are running this whole thing, and is there like they gave up the Gattani case real easily because they don't care about her, but they do care about Jennifer. But they do care about Jennifer McCabe, and so maybe that was like you're not giving this one up. No, why they would want this to go to trial is another story, other than causing me like financial harm. Like maybe it's just fun for them to watch me sweat and pay all this money and all this stuff, which isn't going to work, by the way, because the army behind me is too strong. They're not going to let that happen. So we might have to do another couple fundraisers in there, but whatever. People are happy to donate. It's a cause. It's a good cause. It's like they're doing this to me because they want to take me down. But I really don't understand.
Nope, we're losing him a little bit as he's driving. The turtle dove. I love it. I have to ask him whether he's going to change his name on it. His.
He's got a few monikers. Okay, you're back. We lost.
You're back. You're back. Now we can't hear you. Now we can't hear. Can't hear. He's
in a Worcester hole.
He'll come back. He's got to get back on. And I had told him when we discussed timing on this, because initially it was going to be 6, but he had a soccer game with his daughter. And as I said, family first, Aidan, family first. You do that, and you can close out the show with some comments. Everyone will be waiting for you, as you can say. And he's got a lot of supporters as you go. He's entered the studio again. Let's see if we can bring him back in. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Well, he's obviously in a this is like probably like being in the courtroom today, Michael Bryant, with you.
It's
Wi-Fi is not working. The hotspots aren't.
There we go.
There you
go.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
No worries.
No
hey,
worries.
As I was saying, I don't know why they would want to bring this to trial, and I did a whole rant on this yesterday in my live. It would be a disaster for them. Like, why? They already got their pants pulled down twice with the Karen Reed trial. It was utterly humiliating. They're getting pantsed in the civil suit with Karen Reed. Why do they want to get pantsed again? Like, they're going to bring out all these people all over again, and we're going to let Mark Bederow and Tim Bradel expose them again? Why are they doing this to themselves? That's the part I don't get.
I don't get it either, and I can't imagine Cosgrove in a real trial. I can't imagine. Man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really inspiring guy, but he's got a lot of energy and pep to his step. Again, the triple dip factor is all I could think of, but all right, so like with my case, I'm insistent on taking a stand with this because no one can explain this is all about intent, this case. Did you intend to try to disrupt the trial, right? That makes no sense for several reasons. Number one, financially, right? I mean, let's be honest. The grift was good during the trial, was it not? Like, the numbers were great. Like, every day I was doing a stream, and if you added up all the turtle chats that I got during that time, right?
Your benefit is to have the trial, not to prevent people from being out of the trial.
Business was good. Sorry. Yeah.
You know what I also
but financially
you got cut off. Yeah. So say it again.
Yeah, financially, it makes no sense why I would not want to have a trial because, like I said, the grift was good. For one, like the hung jury was very unfortunate. I was really sad for Cameron Reed that happened. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, good for business. We're doing this again, aren't we? I mean, and every single other YouTuber out there knows it. We all benefited financially from the trial. That's just a fact. So it makes absolutely no sense why we wouldn't want to go to trial, right? And so if my intent was to stop the trial, that makes no sense, right? Secondly, about it when it comes to intent, is that only I can explain my intent. They all gave their opinions of my intent to the grand jury, but they don't know what's in my head. And I can explain better than anyone every single thing that I said and did, why I did it. And none of it was to intimidate anyone. None of it was to prevent anyone from testifying. All of it was for John O'Keefe, because I want answers for what happened to John O'Keefe. Because I know Cameron Reed didn't hit him with a car, but yet he's dead, which means someone else killed him. And there's a woman who Googled how long to die and called it 2:27 a.m. and then deleted it in a whole bunch of phone calls. And so why did I go up to Jennifer McCabe at the Billerick lacrosse game? It's on tape to ask her these questions. Well, why did you call her a cop killer at the end? Was that to intimidate her? No, because the facts show that she was involved in killing a cop. And that makes her dangerous, right? People who kill people are dangerous. And the community has a right to know about dangerous people in their community. That's why I did it. I'm not trying to intimidate anyone. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and if somebody, let me take that, extend that a little bit. If you had said, in addition to that, if you ever testify in this case, I'm coming after you. Now you've got some intimidation. That's a very different thing.
Right. Oh, totally. Totally. But the problem is they get to define intent with the grand jury. Every single McAlbert was asked at the grand jury, why do you think he did this? And the script was, he did this because I am a witness in the Cameron Reed trial and he does not want me to testify. They all got that right except for Colin. Colin was kind of too dumb. Colin said, I don't know why he's doing this. Oh, the guy's got a problem with me. No, Chris Albert's banging his head in his hand. No, you got it wrong, son. Say the line. But that was the line. That was the line that they were all. But again, who are they to decide what my intent is?
Right. Not only that, Aidan. Look. I would argue that they're intending to intimidate you. The whole idea of bringing these prosecutions, you're a witness, right? You're a witness to journalism. You're a witness for John O'Keefe. You're a witness. You're the witness who can get up in your own trial. So what are they doing? They're trying to intimidate you with all this, because who can you intimidate as a witness? The defendant. People forget about that. They can try to intimidate lawyers and defendants and all, and that's something that people don't think about very often. You know what's intimidating, Linda? You know what's intimidating, Linda? When you drop your kids off at the bus stop, and then a bunch of men with guns in plain clothes come off to you, put you in handcuffs, and then ransack your house because you did an act of journalism. That's intimidation. Right. That's an intimidation.
And it's wrong. It's just wrong. It's on its face so wrong. Okay, so putting that aside for a second, think about a new trial and Jen McCabe testifying. You got to admit that would be something.
Oh, you guys would love it. The public will get a show. This is the exact same way I felt about the Cameron Reed trial. It's like, it's unfortunate for the defendant. It's not fair, right? But for me as the viewer at home or the YouTube streamer, yeah, this is great entertainment. But you're like, nobody wants to see a conviction, and you're not going to see a conviction. You're not they will never, ever, ever, ever convict me. You will never get 12 people in Norfolk County to say that I intimidated Jennifer McCabe, Julie Nagel, Brian Albert, or any of these other conspirators, co-conspirators, because that's what they are, right? And you are allowed to say that in the United States of America. You are allowed to have the opinion when the facts dictate it, right? That people that are quite clearly involved in covering up a murder were in fact involved in that. That is not a crime, no matter how much emotional harm it causes them.
Well, or you just not nice to them, and that's what's happening with around now. People are saying, "Oh, you are nice to me. Let me file a claim against somebody. I don't like what you said. Let me file a claim against somebody.
Feelings.
You hurt my feelings.
Right.
Let me file a claim against somebody." That's what's happening.
That is exactly what's happening. These people all had, they didn't like, they were uncomfortable with my question. Yeah, it was awkward at the Billerick lacrosse game. It was,
rolling rally was 7 minutes of uncomfortable inconvenience. But guess what? You don't have a right in the United States of America to be constantly comfortable. That is not a God-given right, right? What is a God-given right is our First Amendment right to peacefully protest. Every single protest we did was peaceful. Nobody got hurt. No property was destroyed. There was no looting. You know, we made the summer of 2020 look like a walk in the park. Right. I mean, that's essentially what the rolling rally was. There was a bunch of middle-aged and older women and children, right, going around from house to house demanding justice for John O'Keefe, 7 minutes outside of each person's house, saying what their involvement was in the cover-up. There wasn't anything like, there were no pitchforks. There was no, they call it picketing. I didn't see a single picket. When I think of picketing, I see signs. There was no picketing. It was me.
And not that picketing is
outside the
bad.
house.
Picketing is fine anyhow. You can picket.
Right.
You can picket.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court justice's house get picketed all the time.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. You know, when the Roe versus Wade decision was leaked, remember they didn't like to overturn it. It was leaked. They didn't officially announce it yet.
Yeah.
And so, what did they do? They went to all the conservative justices' homes and protested outside of it. Why? Because they were trying to get them to change their vote. I mean, what else the reason was there to do that? Right. And that was legal. Nobody got arrested for that, as it should. You know, when they went to Derek Chauvin's house before he was arrested, or Aaron Hernandez's house before he was arrested,
My
right?
client, right?
You know, I mean, your client, Aaron Hernandez, right? It took him a week to arrest him for the Odin Lloyd murder, right? But if you recall, there were people outside of his house and reporters outside of his house lined up for the entire week. Was that witness intimidation? He hadn't been charged, right? That's the way I viewed Jennifer McCabe. And that's why me taking the stand is really important, because I can explain why I did the rolling rally. I viewed her like the media viewed Aaron Hernandez the week before that he was arrested, as somebody who would inevitably be charged with a crime, but hadn't yet.
Yeah. Well, we know the reason they came
Can
after
I
you.
just wait a second? Wait.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
just say that in the Aaron Hernandez case, I got a not guilty for 2 double murders after he'd been convicted of the Odin Lloyd murder. So I just want to just make that.
Yeah, the Odin Lloyd murder didn't have an Alexander Bradley in it. That's why.
Right.
You have a snitch.
And didn't have Linda Kenny Baden either.
No, that's true. It didn't. Yeah, that's true.
So we know why they came after you, and it was to shut you up. We get that. And we know the mechanism they used to try and do that. So, you know, we get all caught up in the details of how ridiculous the use of that law was, because it didn't matter. It was just, what do we use to shut him up? Here's what we've come up with, right?
Right.
I think, you know, we get all kinds of weird comments and stuff anytime we talk about you, anytime we have you on. And I will be the first to say, just like with my case against Massachusetts State Police, we fight very hard for the First Amendment, for your right to say asinine things. So bring it on. Right. I don't care. We're here to fight for you as well. But those comments are usually not very well supported with the law. They're just out of anger, out of stupidity. And I know you see this stuff all the time. I just don't understand why folks are motivated that way, why they can't analyze it as we've talked about. Are they just dumb?
Yes, they're dishonest hookers, all of these people. And where was the media today? It was ironic that Ted Daniel, you know, posted a picture of himself on Twitter going to somebody's house and knocking on the door, right? And, oh, that looks familiar. I've done acts like that before, and they called it witness intimidation. And where is 25? I'm not blaming Ted for this. It doesn't do sense. Home to go, but you know, why don't they have Ted Daniels assigned to this?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. You know, last time I was out doing the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, they had a couple of the, you know, the traditional folks there, and somebody asked them, "Hey, are you going to go to the Aidan Kearney hearing coming up?" And they're like, "Oh, no, we aren't covering that." I mean, what, the First Amendment doesn't mean anything to the local news station, but that's their feeling. No, we can't get involved.
Why were they at my arraignment? Why were they at my arraignment? Why are they there every time my bail is almost getting revoked? Why are they there for that? Right? They used to come to all of my hearings, but you know why they stopped coming? Because it got boring. Because how many times can you listen to Ken Mello or Robert Cosgrove kick the can down the road and talk about, the discovery will be in next week. Oh yeah, we forgot to do that. And then taint team, let's talk about the taint team again for the 5 millionth time. It got boring. This was a really interesting case, and then it got really boring for a couple of years there. And then they brought in a really boring prosecutor named Robert Cosgrove to bore people to death even more. So it became like not as sexy and as interesting as the Reed case, but it's equally as important, like with the
I
Karen
would
Reed
argue
case.
it's
Definitely.
almost more important
Yeah.
because without you, the Karen Reed
Right.
not guilty
You know, she
would
would-
not have happened.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Some would disagree with that. But I would say that the facts would ultimately acquit Karen Reed. However, I would also argue that there would be no crowd outside, and I don't think anyone would dispute that without my involvement in this, and thus the $1.1 million, defense fund that paid for her experts, that put them up in hotels, that made them not have to worry about, as much financially, that came from the apparatus that I built, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No
And
doubt about it.
we all thank you to do journalism. Michael Bryant thanks you. Without the fact that you're a role model there, he wouldn't have sued the Massachusetts State Police. We're all in
Yeah,
this
baby.
together, Aidan. There you go, honey.
Yes,
we're
we
all
are.
in this
Yes, we
together,
are.
Okay?
We are in this together. We are in this together. Absolutely.
And for even the people that don't realize it, we're in this together to protect your rights. And maybe all the people that died in the civil rights movement, the Mississippi burning, the 3 kids, they died to protect your rights. And maybe people didn't like that or maybe didn't realize it. But that's why we're here, and that's why Aidan's doing it, and that's why we support Aidan Kearney.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. And seeing the crowd there today, there wasn't a single anti there. Like it's all on the internet. None of it's real.
No.
The detractors, none of them are real. None of them have show up. The people that actually care about this show up, and they are there on my side, and they have my back unconditionally. And I love them.
Because
And Aidan, I always consider you're considered the journalism Jesus. That's one of your monikers. And you do have no. And I think that for many people, you are akin to a church. You are akin to somebody they worship. And quite frankly, I think the face act should apply to you. You just doesn't, because you don't have a specific place of, wood place of worship, a house place of worship, but maybe you should get one. And then
maybe I should build an altar. Yeah, a temple, the Turtleboy temple. We could build that.
Yep.
What I was going to say was, you, Aidan, are them. That's the deal. They see themselves in what you're going through and saying, I don't like it. And if he's going to be able to fight for his rights that will help me down the road, then I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but thank you, Aidan,
we appreciate it, buddy.
I got to get going.
Yeah, I know, but thank you for joining us.
Yep, appreciate it. Talk to you next time, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Oh man,
he's passionate, and then I think they're making sure that passion. They think that passion equates to witness intimidation. Passion equates to making sure the Constitution applies in the United States of America, especially when you do it like he's doing it with his pen, with his microphone, with his following, and that's passion. All right.
Yeah. And I again, I'll say that we get wrapped up in some of the details of what he did and what it really meant, but it's really irrelevant because we know the purpose behind trying to shut him up, and it doesn't have anything to do with the nuances of what he did. Yeah, it's a new wave of journalism, perhaps. It's more of a gonzo in your face journalism. That all of that really doesn't mean anything. They just wanted to shut up whatever kind of journalism you call it because it didn't help their narrative against Karen Reed. And now with Karen Reed acquitted, it's kind of taken on this life of its own, and to me has become a bigger issue because it's purely about the First Amendment.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, here we go. Mr. Monk's understudy. You just met Mr. Monk's understudy. Hi. How are you?
And she doesn't look at all like that picture. Not at all.
Thank you very much for the shout out today with Michael. We appreciate it. I'm glad that you're becoming a member and can join in some of the member things that we do. I guess the member things is, B Crumbs 937 gifted 5 Justice Serve TV memberships. We have a very generous group. And I also saw people already in the chat getting those memberships that they loved it. You have to subscribe though. You have to be a subscriber to get it. So please hit that subscribe button, share, like, notify. And of course, when we finish the show, you get to hype it on your iPhone. I think I showed you how the other day. Donnie Nott Wahlberg. Hi, Donnie Nott Wahlberg.
Hi, Donnie Nott Wahlberg.
1 Justice Serve TV membership. Thank you very much. And Kay Schmidt with another 5 Justice Serve TV memberships. So I think there had to be like around 25 memberships gifted tonight.
That's great.
With
And we
everyone
appreciate
being
that.
so generous, and everyone who gets them. And as I said, we don't know who they go to. They just go randomly to people in the chat, because people in the chat are subscribers. So please subscribe, like, share, notify. Well, I'd say this was some packed show, Michael Bryant. You started at 6 a.m. this morning, and here you are at 7:30 tonight. You're like the Justice Serve TV Energizer bunny. Yeah, even there were some people in the chat who were anti Bederow, who were anti Bryant, who were anti Aidan Kearney. Look, we are a First Amendment show, and as long as you're exercising your right without, being like an idiot,
don't be lazy. Don't be just bring a smart comment,
right?
Whatever your position
Say
may be.
Why your position is
lazy
defended,
about
right?
it.
Yeah, and all. Thank you very much. We have some things that'll be coming up over the weekend. Oh yeah, well, look at that. We have a sub. Yeah, thank you very much. Really.
Yeah, over the weekend. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what we did. That was a members first. Was it the case against the Commonwealth? We did
the
Massachusetts State Police. Is that the one?
We did the whole going through the House defendants versus.
We did that too. Was that a member first, or was that
was a member
show?
first? That was a member show. That was because people said, Linda, you're in a member show. Remember?
Yeah. Well, whatever was a member first, which is what we're calling it, will be rebroadcast for everybody else this weekend. So we do those live. Everybody gets to then contribute, but then we will repackage that and send it out for everybody else. It's some pretty interesting stuff that we stumble upon. So look for that. This weekend's got a few different things in it.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens over the weekend. What we do Monday, we may want to go through the whole Luigi Mangione opinion, because it really is fascinating and very interesting. And the judge saying, and thank you for telling me I was missing an earring. What happened was when I went to put my earpiece on, these earrings were too big, and as you know, a lot of times I only wear one earring because of the earpiece that's in my ear that's made for your ear. So, but thank you for.
Such challenges you go through just for the sake of the program.
Hey, well, I had to this morning when I was trying to get the feed in, and there was no feed, and then the Zoom, but then the court didn't publicize. You go on their page, they didn't publicize the link to the Zoom, but then we had the passcode, but the link, but I knew you were there taping everything, and that everyone would get to see it in close up.
Yes,
and you are seeing people close up arguing much better. So much better experience. It'll take you just a little over an hour. Is it up there? Do we have a link that I could post the link?
Oh yeah, it's up. It's in our videos. Just go there now. Viper is looking at it as well. We looked at the first few minutes. The whole hour plus is in there. So despite some audio issues when they're further away and talking lower, like Cosgrove, who's on his last breath apparently.
Yeah, here it is. Floyd and Kearney hearing. Here it is. Floyd and Kearney hearing.
Yeah,
let me get a copy of it here, and let me put it right into. I'm going to stick it right now, right into. The comments, okay? And if you go to the Justice Serve TV YouTube page, you will find it. Remember, please, when you are looking at everything, please hit that subscribe, like, share, notify. A lot of you watch and don't hit the subscribe button, and that gets us into the algorithm. And then when the show finishes, if you're not chatting here, you can always comment. We do take comments. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them are indifferent. Some of them will talk about Michael's look. Some of them will talk about my looks. We'll answer all of you, especially, but really try to keep it on a level that we try to do. We're trying not to get involved with the drama. We're trying to get involved. If it is drama, it's drama in the courtroom and drama because of the First Amendment.
I like to think we're a mid to high 3-digit IQ channel, so just trying to keep it elevated a little bit. Yeah. All right then, partner. Good work today. It was a long one, and have a great weekend. Again, folks, look for some of the stuff we're going to repurpose over the weekend. And until Monday. Are we good? You got it?
I think we're good. I'm looking out to see, because Missy sent me a private chat about super chats, but I think I put all the super chats in. If anyone missed out, we will find you, and then we will try to post it.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Pam Venmo'd $20. Thank you, Pam.
Oh my God, thank you again. Thank you all. Yeah, and we appreciate it. I did put in a goal at one point. I said, hey, if we get 10 people to each donate $100, then maybe with those 10 people, we'll have a one-on-one, just one-on-one, you and I, to talk to them. But we need all 10 of you to do that. So
or if we have just one person donate $1 million. then we'll,
that-
you know,
then
we'll have
then we will branch out and be covering more cases.
then we'll have a pizza
Yeah.
party.
Everyone
right,
was
then.
laughing.
Okay. All right. Thanks, folks. We appreciate it. Good to be with you all day today. This is Justice Served TV. Please try to do the right thing.